So this is the beginning of the "Don't Let Texas Kill an Innocent Man." Save Robert Robertson. The, this is taking place in front of the Capitol.
From other parts of the state to join us today, and we are truly so grateful for your presence. Texas conservatives concerned about the death penalty. We're all here today because in less than 2 weeks, two resulted from illness, medical error, and accident. It was not a crime. And yet Robert is at risk of becoming the first person in the United States executed based on the discredited shaken baby hypothesis. Texas conservatives concerned is proud to be among a broad alliance of advocates and experts calling for this execution to be stopped. This includes eminent scientists and doctors, advocates for autistic people and their families, parental rights advocates, attorneys who have represented people wronged later during our time together. There's also Reverend Brian Wharton, the lead detective who investigated the death of Robert's daughter Nikki, directed his arrest, and testified for the prosecution at trial. After reviewing the new evidence, he now believes that Robert is innocent. I'm thrilled that you'll be able to hear from Reverend Wharton and some of these other supporters here today. We're grateful to the Texas lawmakers from both sides of the aisle who have called for a stop to this execution. And we're also thankful to stand alongside like-minded organizations who have expressed support for Robert. Come together and demand a new trial for Robert during a press conference held by Republican Representative Lacey Cole. This includes Crime Stoppers of Houston, Texas Right to Life, Republican donor Doug Beeson, and more. It's not surprising with errors, inaccuracies, of leading with common sense, transparency, and facts to allow this execution to proceed in just 12 days. Today, we call on Texas leaders to confront the realities of Robert Robertson's case, recognize his very serious concerns, and intervene to save his life. Because it would be a murder at the hands of the state of Texas and an affront to truth, reason, and common sense. The whole world is watching. Texas, do not kill this innocent man. Is more important for the Texas government than protecting life and liberty, and we must ensure Texans are never deprived of them without due process and fair trials. I am a proud conservative Republican, but questions of guilt and innocence should never be partisan. I'm going to start by saying something many of you may disagree with. I believe the death penalty absolutely has a place. I believe it's most incumbent on those of us who support the death penalty to be the most vigilant in ensuring potentially innocent people are never subjected to it. Our goal must always be to seek justice. And I don't know who on my side of the aisle still needs to hear this, but executing a potentially innocent person who has never had due process, who has never had a fair trial, is the exact opposite of justice. This should not be controversial. I am a fierce proponent for limited government, and all conservatives who claim to be skeptical of government's inability to get things right and who recall Reagan's words that government solutions are often worse than the problems they're trying to solve should join me in being willing to say that I will never blindly trust the government because the government gets it wrong a lot. Courts are the government, and they can get it wrong too. A year ago, on Robert's previous execution date, President Trump's now Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., made the following statement. Robert Robertson is scheduled to die in Texas at 6 p.m. Central Time. His marriage of justice. Governor Abbott needs to step in. That was right then, and that is right now. The public is now being confused and given misinformation from the government about how Nikki was supposedly murdered. The official narrative has changed dramatically over time. There are only two options. Was Robert convicted of murder under shaken baby syndrome, as the state said during trial, or was he convicted of beating his daughter to death, as the government dishonestly claims now? If she was a victim of shaken baby, then under the current junk science laws, Robert must be given a new trial because of how that hypothesis has come into doubt in the past 20 years. The government knows this, and that's why they're trying to confuse the public with the new allegation. The new claim is that Nikki was beaten so viciously that she died. This is demonstrably false. If we know anything from the CT scan that the jury was never shown, and the photos, it is that Nikki had no significant bruises, no significant lacerations, and not so much as a single hairline fracture anywhere on her body. Does the government really expect Texans to believe any 2-year-old child could be beaten to death without even one single serious bruise? Apparently they do. What is potentially the most shocking part of Robert's story is that his court appointed trial attorney simply agreed with the prosecution that this was a classic shaken baby case. Therefore, no jury has ever been presented with any evidence or arguments of Robert's potential innocence. Justice demands that Robert be given a new trial so that a jury, for the first time ever, can judge his guilt or innocence on the totality of the evidence, including the mountain of potentially exculpatory evidence, something that has never once happened. People can have differing opinions of Mr. Robertson's guilt or innocence, but it is a matter of objective fact that Mr. Robertson was never given a fair trial or due process. The Texas government must never deprive somebody of their life absent due process, yet we are days away from that happening. I firmly believe it will become clear in time who was on the right side of history and who was championing the execution of a potentially innocent man who was never afforded due process or a fair trial. People often ask why I've been so passionate and vocal on this issue. It's simple. I do not want my children to inherit a state where potentially innocent people can have their lives deprived of them by the government. Join me in praying for the officials who have it within their power to grant Robert Robertson a new trial to do so that true justice can finally be delivered.
One, I want to thank Brian Harrison for those words. I hope you heard them. He laid out the case of why Robert deserves another look from everybody that has the ability to take. But for over a year now, almost 2 years now, we have been unified in the fight for Robert Robertson. And we are joined by so many of our colleagues in that fight. Last year, before the execution, a vast majority, a bipartisan group signed a letter requesting a deeper look. I'm joined by two of our colleagues, Representative Donna Howard and Representative Lulu Flores, here on the stage with us as well. And I want to thank them for lending their voice to this cause, along with so many others in this bipartisan initiative. Again, I'm State Representative John Busey, and we are here today because Texas is about to make a horrible mistake. On October 16th, the state of Texas plans to execute Robert Robertson. Execute him even though the evidence against him has collapsed. Execute him even though the science that convicted him has been debunked. Execute him even though the jurors, experts, even the lead detective have all said that this conviction was wrong. If Texas goes through with this, it won't be justice. It will be an innocent man's life taken in our name. And we will not let this happen. If I want to tell you how I came to know Robert. When his attorneys came to the Capitol, they laid out a case that should disturb every Texan to their core. A trial built on junk science, a defense that failed, a system that has cared more about holding onto a conviction than closing a case than getting it right. So we got to work. We held hearings, we brought facts to light, and when we did, the truth came out. Medical experts testified that the state's theory was wrong. A juror said she never heard the full story, and the lead detective, the man who helped put Robert away, stood up and admitted mistakes were made and pleaded with the state of Texas not to execute Robert. Think about that. The detective, the juror, and the experts all agreeing that this man should not be executed. Say it is wrong, and the state presses on anyway. Let me tell you what convinced me the most. I went to see Robert myself. I sat with him just days before his scheduled execution last year. And you might expect a man in his position to be bitter or angry or even broken. But that's not what I saw. I saw hope. Hope in a man facing the unthinkable. Hope from someone who prayed with us, who told us he wanted to live not just for himself, but to help others. Robert told us he wanted to mentor young people caught up in the same system that has failed him to make sure no one else goes through what he has. As we said our goodbyes that day, Robert read us a letter from his older daughter, which said, "Have hope, Dad." This is not the spirit of a guilty man. This is the heart of a man who deserves a chance to live. I went back to death row the night Robert was set to be executed. I sat in a room with one of my colleagues, solemn and grim, and we waited, but we hoped. And I want everyone to imagine what was going through Robert's mind as the clock ticked towards 6 p.m. that day. Isn't that long enough? To have full faith and confidence in our justice system, we must act when it is clearly necessary to uphold fairness and common sense. And here's the truth. The governor of Texas has the power right now to stop this. There's a mountain of evidence before the courts proving that Robert is innocent, and Governor Abbott can ensure that we have time to review it by granting a 30-day reprieve right now. He does not need anyone's permission. He doesn't need to wait for the courts. He can act immediately. And Governor Abbott, you must act, because once Robert is executed, there is no turning back. Robert's daughter, Nikki, dying is an absolute tragedy. And executing a father for a crime he didn't commit is an unforgivable sin. So yes, this is about Robert, but it's about more than Robert. It's about what kind of state do we want to be? Do we value truth over finality? Do we value justice over vengeance? Do we value protecting innocent life or protecting broken convictions? Robert's life is in our hands, and the whole world is watching to see what Texas does next. So let us stand together, let us raise our voices, and let us send this message loud and clear. Texas, don't kill this innocent man. Thank you for being here.